Amazing news, and the speed of this process has been absolutely historic. But New Yorkers are bracing themselves for more bad news as Governor Andrew Cuomo announced this today, Sean, in a tweet. Indoor dining will close in New York City starting Monday. Hospitalizations have not stabilized, and with a rising infection rate and New York City's density, this means that indoor dining is too high of a risk. Takeout, delivery, and outdoor dining will continue. Well, that news is going to have a major impact on restaurants in New York City, most of who are already hurting. Joining us now is today's company healthcare analyst and Republican strategist Seth Denson, and host of the Derek Hunter podcast and Town Hall columnist Derek Hunter. Gentlemen, welcome back to the show.
Good to be here.
All right, well, I was just reading an Eater article, which I tweeted out as well, but it talks about how over the course of the last 3 months, that only 1.4% of COVID-19 cases can be traced back to restaurants and bars in New York cities. And so if I'm a small business owner right now, Seth, I am so frustrated by Governor Cuomo's comments because I want to be safe. I want to take COVID seriously, but at the same time, it seems like there's no open dialogue between these government officials and these small businesses who are just trying to survive.
Well, that's right, Lyndsay, and I think there's a couple of things to consider here. The first being that many of these small businesses did what they needed to do to comply on the front end of this pandemic, and they worked to restructure their restaurants to make them more safe. And to your point, the numbers just aren't adding up that this is where people are contracting COVID. And so this does seem like a singular attack on small business owners' restaurants. New York alone has lost over 1,000 restaurants that they do not think will reopen, and we still can't get Washington to come together to give some relief to these small business owners.
Yeah, and Derek, the interesting thing is, to Seth's point, a lot of these businesses have talked about all the things that they put in place to make sure that people could come in, air filters, spreading out tables or building outdoor spaces. And now they've thrown all this money, and now they're having to fire most of their staff and saying, busboys, kitchen staff, gone.
Cuomo did this starting Monday. So it's so dangerous and deadly, but have this weekend to go crazy. If it's so dangerous, why do you wait the weekend? And yes, there are canopies all over the country. California was hit by this. You put up canopies, you buy the space heaters, which are at a premium right now and really hard to find. You invest, you follow everything the government says you have to do in order to continue to do business. And then they come along and rip the rug out from under you once again with no responsibility and no real contrition or acknowledgement. The biggest problem I've had with this whole thing is there's been conflicting information left and right constantly from the very beginning, but each new declaration is treated as though the previous one that it directly contradicts didn't happen. And that's why I think is a big factor why people are really getting sick of all of this.
Yeah. Seth, so all these New Yorkers are going to have to go home. But then if you're a conservative and you're sitting at home and you're thinking, I want dessert, well, there's one thing I don't want you to eat. It's Ben & Jerry's. Check out what Colin Kaepernick had to say about his new collaboration with them.
Ready to change the world?
Ben & Jerry's and Colin Kaepernick are teaming up in the struggle against police violence,
systemic racism,
and white supremacy. All of Colin's proceeds from our new certified vegan non-dairy flavor go to Know Your Rights Camp,
an organization he launched in 2016 to advance the liberation of Black and brown people.
Seth, I mean, it is crazy. We've talked about this a ton on the show. There's nothing that can't be political anymore. But this is just giving me one more reason not to go eat Ben & Jerry's ice cream.
Well, this is nothing new for Ben & Jerry's. I mean, this is a company that penned an open letter to President Trump in 2016 following his election, effectively giving him a backhanded compliment about winning and saying all the things they didn't like about what he ran for. Then in 2018, during the midterms, they released, I think it was called Pecan Resist, which was their resistance ice cream. I don't know about up north, but down here in Texas, a pecan is something my grandparents had under their bed because they didn't have indoor plumbing. Nothing sounds flavorful about that to me. But this is nothing new for Ben & Jerry's. But sadly, if they're taking a page out of Nike's playbook, somehow businesses can seem to migrate into these political spheres and not be penalized.
Derek, are you willing to give up the chunky monkey?
I don't like ice cream, but it doesn't sound like this is ice cream. It sounds like a non-dairy vegan sweat pile with a flavor of disappointment. One thing you can be sure of is you won't choke to death on a Super Bowl ring in there.
Oh, wow. All right, good one, good one. All right, well, I'm about to open Pandora's box here. Hunter Biden and the coverage that the media has and has not given. Glenn Greenwald went off on Tucker Carlson the other night. Take a listen.
think we need to recognize what a historic crime and disgrace this is, not only in journalism, but as soon as these documents became known, the operatives in the intelligence community, the CIA, John Brennan, James Clapper, Michael Hayden, all the standard professional liars issued a letter claiming that this material was the hallmark of Russian information, disinformation actually, even though they had no basis for thinking that. And that gave the media permission to lie to the public continuously and Silicon Valley to censor these materials.
All right, you can feel his frustration, Seth, there. I mean, it really does feel like this is pinned on the media for their lack of understanding and willingness to dig into a subject because of their bias.
Yeah, I think Russian disinformation is almost like the new mantra of the left and the mainstream media if they don't like a story. And you could just tell during the campaign, it was, let's sweep this under the rug. Don't look over here. We have an election to influence. But, you know, the real challenge is here, and I thought there was a great piece yesterday in the editorial board of the Wall Street Journal who said, hey, surprise, this is now a story now that the election is over. And I think that's really shameful. And their heads should spin in the media because I'm certain that there are some people in Graves that are.
Head spinning. I want to play what President Trump said about this story way back when he gave that 60 Minutes interview, Derek, and have you respond to this.
I wish you would interview Joe Biden like you interview me. It would be so good. You know what?
You like this, I thought. I thought you liked
it. I don't mind it. But when I watch him walk out of a store and he's walking with an ice cream, and the question the media asks him, what kind of ice cream, what flavor ice cream do you have? And he's in the midst of a scandal.
He's not.
And he's taking...
He's
of course
not.
he is,
No.
Leslie.
Come on.
Of course he is.
Derek, he's not in a scandal. It's just his son in money laundering.
Look, come on. What are you going to do? It's amazing to me how many, the extent of journalism that happens when the Democrat is the target of it is, well, they've said they didn't do it. So then there you go. Eric Swalwell says he had no idea and nothing nefarious happened.
Listen, just to be clear, Anthony Weiner also, no, that's not true.
All right.
I was friends with Andrew Breitbart. I know more about that case and have seen more about that case than I ever cared.
Okay. All right, that's for another time. But we have two champions in the house, Seth and Derek, going to be coming right back for the company quiz. Don't go away.